Yep.
So the new Spider-Man movie is currently the 6th highest grossing movie of all time. It's made about $1.7 billion. And aside also from it just being a amazing movie, a lot of great entertainment in it, a lot of great characters, I think there's a lot of moral lessons and implications with the film that I think definitely could use some discussion. So together I've got a couple of my buddies. This is Ben right here, and this is Jeremy. They're just a couple really good friends of mine, and they're also just really smart people. And so we're going to be talking about, and I'm just going to throw the question out there and open up a panel discussion of the types. What the morality of Spider-Man. Should Spider-Man have saved the villains that were trying to kill him?
I mean, what kind of a question is that?
Anyone can say anything.
Well, first off, thanks for having us here, and saying that I'm smart, because I don't get that a lot, so that's always a good thing to hear.
No, we're just saying that for YouTube. I don't want them to think that.
Oh yeah,
dumb
for
people.
sure. No. Cool. So thank you, YouTube community. I needed that comment this morning. Should he have saved them? If you look at the characters and what is actually why the characters do what they do. Why are they doing what they do? We've talked about this Monday, and it's something that Lewis believed that evil doesn't operate independently of good. And with that being said, is like each one of these villains were trying to gain something through a negative method. So when you say save them, are you talking about keeping them alive, or are you talking about being able to almost transform, as we look at it in the Christian aspect, to remove them from their old nature, or what was binding them, or what was having them chained? In that aspect, it's hard to tell whether or not he actually was able to redeem them. Of whatever it was. If you look at, you can look at Max Dillon. We'll look at Max Dillon, for instance.
She remembered my name.
Who is played by Jamie Foxx, who did an amazing job. Always did an amazing job in whatever he does. He was like, there's a sense of bitterness there. People weren't, acknowledging him. Yeah. People treated him like an outcast, and everybody, has that feeling in society where it's like, man, I want to be known, I want to be seen. And that plays on one of our fears, that fear of acceptance, or that fear of significance, and that will cause you to be like, okay, you want to be significant. We all want to be significant. Like everybody wants to be acknowledged. So that played on that. So like, what did he do? This is what wound up. He had an opportunity to be significant, to be powerful, to So, and he took it.
So in your mind, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer that you guys are going to give, but is there a differentiation between the characters that were the way they were because they lost control of their mind or their bodies versus the ones who did not lose control and chose to be that way? Electro, did not lose control of his mind. Neither did Sandman. Neither did a lizard. But you have also characters like Dr. Octopus lost control of his mind. Goblin. And so, let's pitch this question to you, Ben. Would you create a differentiation between those characters?
I think I probably would, because when I was watching the movie, I could definitely tell, like, there was, like you were saying, there was kind of some, they were leading to a change in some of the characters, because we have, like, Doc Ock, and we see what he's doing. They kind of pitch some storytelling on his part.
Rosie, our new friend thinks I'm going to blow up the city.
And then we have Willem Dafoe, who did such a great job as Green Goblin. And so we see when he snaps, you're like, oh man, we didn't want him to do that.
Yeah.
Because now it brings such a new deep plot to it.
Yeah.
So I feel like Doctor Strange just wanted things to be the way they were.
Yeah.
And Peter Parker wanted to, bring some forgiveness.
So was Doctor Strange wrong? Was he wrong to try to do what he did?
And I think for his safety reasons, because I think the whole idea of the multi-universe is not to make everything, to make disorder to the universe. So I think on his part, I don't think he was wrong for wanting to do that, because I feel like in the end, when everybody forgot Peter Parker, that's kind of one of the main things that Doctor Strange did not want to happen.
Yeah,
Right.
and I to add to what you were just saying, we saw what Tony Stark did.
Mm-hmm.
We even saw what Doctor Strange did.
Yeah.
That sacrifice that both of them made, and you look at somebody like Peter Parker, this is a young, aspiring, brilliant kid. Anybody that has that love in their heart, like Tony Stark, like Doctor Strange, they may seem a certain way, but they cared about Peter Parker.
Yeah.
They cared about that kid. They I mean, in a sense, those are the only father figures that he has.
Yeah.
His Uncle Ben's gone. His parents are gone. Now Tony Stark is gone. Knowing like Doctor Strange's character, be like, this is something I want to do for this kid. Not whether it played against whether it was like morally right or not. Like he loved the kid, and I don't think like he could justify it in what he did, but like he definitely wanted to do something for the.
But
kid.
you're saying he was, at least in his mind, he was trying to do the right.
He was trying
thing.
to.
He maybe had the wrong motives, but he was trying to do
to help the kid. Right.
something that he perceived as good.
Right. Let me help this kid out. You know what I'm saying? He already doesn't have much. You know what I'm saying? He just lost Tony. He just lost Ben, his Uncle Ben. We just got wiped out of existence. Like, what can I do to help this kid so he doesn't like lose it too? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's something you would do for anybody.
So I think there could be a little bit of a bringing into this discussion the issue of capital punishment, which is a very controversial issue.
We don't do that here.
But, with creating that distinction between characters like Dr. Octopus, technically you could argue Dr. Octopus didn't kill anyone. Goblin didn't kill anyone. Because that was, Norman Osborn did not kill anyone. And Dr. Octavius did not kill anyone. But their alter egos, the ones who took control of them, were the ones who committed those actions. But then you have ones like Electro, who was willing to kill if he needed to be able to achieve whatever end he needed. Right. And then you had Sandman, and then you had Lizard. And so, bringing in the issue of capital punishment, did Peter Parker have a responsibility to save people who were arguably murderers versus the two who were not?
I think, in general, lives matter. Yeah, lives matter. You know what I'm saying? And I think Christ didn't come for the healthy; he came for the sick. Yeah. So it's a personal, and I say this a lot, and I'll continue to say this. As soon as you actually understand what Christianity is and who Christ is, you have a personal responsibility to respond to that. And I think, having that love in your heart, you go to 1 John, what I'm saying, having love for another, having love for your brother, and knowing who your neighbor is, and knowing who, what I'm saying, like you were willing to sacrifice. Peter Parker was willing to sacrifice things.
I guess
he was willing to sacrifice things so that he could, try to help.
I guess what could be implied is that if he was to send back some of these people, they have not changed. Really. Inside, they have not changed. And they have the potential to commit the same types of actions they had committed before. Norman Osborn was changed. Right. Dr. Octavius was changed. But you send back, whatever these Lizard, Sandman, Electro, could they potentially even wreak more havoc back in the universe? And is he actually doing mercy by sending them back versus keeping them where they are?
So I'm glad you brought that up. Ben, feel free to add. But if you look at the scenes afterwards, like what those like, you look at the Sandman, like he was just trying to like take care of his daughter. You know what I'm saying? Like that, he wasn't like, there's crimes that like involve other people, and then there's just crimes that the money that he was stealing. You can sit there and be like, well, the money he was stealing is insured. You see what I'm saying? The banks are going to get that money back. You know what I'm saying? The people aren't really losing that money. But then it's like the whole like the culture. Like, okay, no, you just don't steal from people. Like,
that's not a cultural issue. That's a moral issue.
Well, here's the thing. Like in there are certain cultures that if your door is locked, they feel like you're trying to like not share, and like it's culturally like normal for them to go in and steal your stuff and like not even bat an eye. And
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
But they wouldn't even be charged for that crime. So
that culture is completely wrong.
I understand that, but the person lasts forever. Culture doesn't last forever. The person themselves, like the Sandman, his daughter. We believe that humans are eternal creatures. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's the person that lasts forever. It's not the culture. It is stealing wrong. Yes, stealing is wrong. You see what I'm saying? But now you're getting into like, okay, how the morality of like, what I'm saying? Like, so what drew him to do this? And like I said, you know, you have that fear of security. You know, he was afraid that his daughter, it drove him to do something. He was attempting to do something good, but using the wrong methods.
Yeah.
So like those people right there, are they just confused? And if you go to the scenes that are after each person, like you go to Max Dillon where he's sitting there when he's sitting there talking to Spider-Man, he's like, man, you're handsome. He's like, you help, the poor people. He's like, man, I thought you'd be black. And he's like, oh man, I'm sorry. And like you hear that forgiveness too. And he's like, no, man, it's cool. I understand. It's probably a black Spider-Man out there somewhere. So you can see, just like through their tongue, what they're saying, you can see there's a change in character. Or how Sandman sacrificed himself so that he could trap, somebody, like he was...
But I think there is also room for acknowledgement that this is a Hollywood film, and there's not necessarily...
For sure.
Imagine that this really did happen. Would they just change heart because they had been defeated? No, that could be them acknowledging their defeat, but not necessarily a change of heart.
So
but let's transfer to a different question for you, Ben.
Sure.
Would you have changed any of Spider-Man's actions? Do you think he did exactly what he should have done? Should he have done anything differently? What are your thoughts?
That's a great question, and I think it might even change from person to person. Just kind of depends on how they would have written the story as far as like interest. Because I mean, let's just take it that way just for a second. I mean, that makes the most interesting story.
Interesting.
I mean, you just said it's one of the most highest-grossing movies.
Yeah.
So because there's conflict between Peter Parker and Doctor Strange. That makes such an interesting movie. I mean, if I was Peter Parker, Doctor Strange would tell me that there would be quite a bit of danger in doing that. Obviously, just like you were saying, or what I was saying earlier, just the disorder in the universe and whatnot. But I think if I was Peter Parker, if I was somebody who had, let's just call it for a second, a tad bit of misplaced compassion, if you will, to do something that would ultimately get in the way of some things, or that would be disruptive to somebody else's life or something like that. If I understood that, if it would separate me from my family or something like that, then I probably wouldn't have done it. But
so
again,
you wouldn't have saved the villains.
Right. If someone like Doctor Strange had told me something like that was going to happen, or if it was going to separate from me and my family, because like as a Christian, I know there's an ultimate savior, and Jesus chooses his children, and so if I was Peter Parker, I don't think I would get in the way and try to do something myself.
So you would have let them go back and die if that was their fate.
And I mean, it's hard to put it that way, but that's just a different perspective to bring to the table.
So what you're saying is like cost and gain. Like what would it cost to gain this, and what would it cost to?
I mean, I guess my personal perspective is, and I kind of have a balance between both sides, where it's kind of like
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
And I'm not saying I'm completely right about this. This is an issue. That's why I'm having this discussion, because I want to start having moral discussions about different films that we often don't even think about what we're watching. But, Peter Parker could at any point have sent those people back. He had the box with them. All he had to do was push a button, and they all would have gone back. And so the way that I see it, it was his responsibility morally to save the people that were not doing these actions of their own accord. But I personally don't think he had the moral responsibility to save the people who were choosing to kill, who were choosing to destroy. I mean, they were attacking with the intent of immobilizing and killing these Spider-Men of their own accord. It's not because they lost their mind. So you have Lizard, you have Electro, and mainly those are the two worst ones. Sandman kind of, but he's kind of just, I'm not going to say he's been a useless villain. He's just kind of a villain who tries and doesn't really ever do much. But I don't, in my opinion, think Peter Parker had a responsibility to save people who are trying to kill him. Of their own accord. And so if he had ever gotten to the point where he saved Dr. Octopus, if he had been able to save Goblin before the other two, I think he had fulfilled his moral responsibility and could have sent him back at that point. And, obviously there's, you could argue there's merit for him saving the other ones past that point. But they're trying to kill him. You could argue so many different things. It's self-defense. It's he's morally giving them justice for trying to kill. So I kind of take that middle ground stance on that issue.
I wish I could agree with you on this, but like Jesus saved people that were trying to kill him all the time. Like that was the whole point of him coming. Was you know what I'm saying? Like like I said, man. Like it becomes a personal a personal like responsibility. Like what do you do with the information what do you do when you find out, you know, like this is what you're called to do, this is what you're meant to be, this is what you were made for. Like this is what Peter Parker was made for. He's a superhero. He's made to save people. He's made to do what he can to ensure that these people, and I think he did the best he could. Like for a 18-year-old kid, like to take that personal responsibility with no type of leadership in his life, that is a big thing. That's a big overhaul. You know what I'm saying? Like not only that, like look, you know, his team. Like his team is a mystic scientist. I mean, doctor. You know what I'm saying? He's got his friend Ned. You know what I'm saying? And his girlfriend. Like that's. I mean, he's like 2 or 3 people, but like he accomplished a lot. Like he really did accomplish a lot, and I think he did a good job. And I think, you know, there were plenty of opportunities he could have been like, all right, no, enough's enough. Even after Aunt May got killed, he still could have been like, but no, he kept pushing forward. He didn't let the circumstances. He's like, this is the mission. This is what I came to do. This is what I'm going to do.
But there's also the one scene where he does kind of snap himself.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and he would have killed Goblin if he had the choice. No, I get exactly what you're saying. He was exceptional. Sure. But I'm not even saying that that's to mash him as a character. I mean,
no.
You could view it, and I don't think this is the right scenario. Some people would view it as Goblin took his aunt, so he has the right to take Goblin, and I don't think that was the proper time and place.
No, I don't think.
You know, even being an advocate of capital punishment, I don't think that was the time and place. But you know, I think I agree with you. He did an exceptional job, and I'm more on the side that he did what he should have done. He had a moral obligation.
Right.
You know, whether or not it was kind of his fault that happened, but whether or not it was his fault, you know, if I see a person dying on the side of the street, I have a moral obligation to help that person. And if I don't, I'm indirectly killing this person.
Right.
I'm myself being the person killing this person.
Right.
And so if you have an opportunity to save someone, it's your responsibility.
For sure, I agree.
And I think that he understood that. And I don't think Doctor Strange understood that, however pure or impure his motives were. But I think that Peter understood that, and, you know, he did the right thing considering that. A little bit of a fun question here, though. This isn't even a question. This is you should know the answer to this, but we all know who the best Spider-Man was. And I'm going with Andrew Garfield. You said that when you walked in the theater. You're like, he might be my favorite now.
When he started crying after he saved MJ, man, I gotta be honest with you, like even as a 34-year-old man, like I cried a little bit too. I was like, yo, that's for him. He needed that. Out of all the people in that, like, I feel like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man had the most to gain as far as the redemption part of that whole. Like he had like. To be honest with you, if you think about it like this, if you take apart, like if you take the villain part out of it, giving Andrew Garfield the opportunity for the redemption made everything worth it. And in my book, and this is just me just throwing this out there as like my personal opinion. Like this is nothing to do with
I'm getting
morality.
goosebumps just thinking about it.
Out of no morality, no nothing like that. If all of this happened just so Andrew Garfield could get some redemption for what happened with Gwen Stacy, dude, that would have made it worth it.
So you're going with Andrew?
Yeah,
you're going
for sure.
I think I know who you're going to go with.
Yes, well, just as an old school guy.
Start with
Tobey Maguire.
Tobey
Maguire never failed for me.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
They love me.
But even then, there is, you know, kind of reining it back into a moral stance, but talking about more than just Tom. You know, it's amazing seeing how well the other Spider-Man have held themselves together considering all they've gone through. Because, you know, the story about Tobey Spider-Man is supposedly him and MJ break up at some point.
Right.
And, you know, imagine the heartbreak that went with that. He lost his best friend the last movie, like the last couple minutes of the last movie we have with him. And then you have Andrew Garfield, who's just, I mean, his best friend, you know, Harry Osborn, ends up killing Gwen Stacy. And so even Andrew Garfield admits, you know, there was a point where he stopped pulling his punches. Right. There was either Tobey or Andrew, but I think it was Andrew who admitted that. And so they admitted they kind of went into this spiral of you know, bitterness and anger. But it's amazing seeing that despite all they've gone through, they pulled themselves out of that. and they've learned to forgive to the point that Toby is willing to like put himself at danger to save someone who tried to kill him.
Right.
Someone who he himself not killed, but watched die.
Right.
Who trying to kill him, and now he has an opportunity to kind of per se undo what he did, or to rewind time, and he chooses to save this very person who he knew would try to kill him if he stayed the way that he was. And so I just think, for me, viewing it again from a moral angle, it's incredible seeing the forgiveness that these people are willing to put into their hearts, which we know that as a Christian issue. And this is a Hollywood film, so there's not really an acknowledgement of religion or Christianity.
Well, I mean,
but we know ultimately that forgiveness is an element from Christ.
Yeah, for sure.
And seeing them display this Christian behavior is admirable.
That transformative power that we talk about.
Yeah.
That all it takes is one interaction with the Holy Spirit, and like if it it takes hold, like the Holy Spirit takes hold of you, you ain't getting away. Like, you're gonna want to do not do more, but you're gonna want to know more about God. You're gonna want to do.
You want him to do you so much you could do anything.
You want to obedience comes through love. I'm saying, not out of like, well, I want to do this because I want God to love me. No, you do it because God loves you. You know what I'm saying? He's what's making you good.
You do it as a side effect, not as a cause.
As a cause, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's really important.
Yeah.
So let me throw this out there. Listen. I am a big Tom Hardy fan. I don't know. You guys know who that is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like, I was excited to see.
An incredible actor.
I know. I was excited to see at the end of Let There Be Carnage. You know what I'm saying? Him getting transported into the Spider-Verse there, the MCU. It sucked that he got sent back, but we all saw that a little bit of the symbionite was left behind.
Yeah.
Are you guys? What would be your like? How would you want that interaction between Venom and Spider-Man to go? Would you want it to be as like a villain versus the hero concept? Would you want it as them like teaming up to take on a bad guy? What would you want to see that like you're looking at, and let it be Tom Hardy's Venom, not let it be like some like Topher Grace's Venom from Spider-Man 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's
I like doing bad stuff.
Yeah, like
it makes me happy.
Good.
It makes me feel good.
I'm not talking about that type of Venom.
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
I'm talking about like Tom Hardy's Venom.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
One with personality.
With personality and some character, and like he's not advert or just a bad guy outright, more like an anti-hero.
Yeah.
So what would you want to see Ben as far as their interaction between the two?
Yeah, I mean, Venom versus the hero is such a classic idea, and we've seen that from a lot of different movies. I think, Joseph, you brought up a point one time that when Venom teams up with either it's like a hero or what should have been a hero, kind of brings out like a celebration of a villain sometimes, or it can have that type of message.
Well, how Venom it kind of takes an angle of praising and glorifying villainy, because Venom is one of those characters who rather openly. I mean, even in Let There Be Carnage, there were some very cold scenes where he's just jumping from one dead body to the next, knowing he's going to kill that person.
Right.
But in order to save himself, he's willing to kill someone else. And so he's not necessarily a hero.
No.
He's kind of, in other words, he's one of those characters that will attack anyone else who dares to stand in his path.
Right.
But he probably wouldn't be one to attack a villain unless it was a villain who was in conflict with him.
Right.
And so he is one of those anti-heroes where he's kind of like one of those guys you could call on the phone and be like, we need your help. But we wouldn't count on you outside of when there's a villain at large because you're
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So you could possibly be that villain at large.
So there's no way he's ever going to be a pure hero.
And that's why I said...
So it'd be kind of interesting to see how... Because Spider-Man's one of those characters who's just a hero.
Right.
He's a good guy. He's honestly one of the most moral and I think praiseworthy superheroes ever created.
Right.
Hey, M.A. Yeah? Eggs? Organic, got it.
I think seeing him interact with Venom would require a lot of thought to be done well, and I think it could be done well.
So, again, like I posed the question, do you want to see him interact with the like a story of like protagonist antagonist, or do you want to see like protagonist and antagonist going up against a greater antagonist, or do you want to see protagonist versus antagonist for like the first hour of the movie and then like then they join team type?
I want a 3-hour Spider-Man movie. That's what I want.
It's like, I want it now.
I want it now.
What I was gonna say is as long as the end, because like the first half of the movie can be really interesting with as far as like how evil you are proposing a character. But to me, as long as the end really clears up about the truth about Venom and how dangerous he is. I mean, we have so many movies that explain how dangerous Venom is. But to me, as long as the end of the movie comes to a nice conclusion, then I think it doesn't matter what's going on in the middle. I mean, you can make the movie as dark as you want, you know, because some people find a lot of interest in that.
Yeah, and it's all about the lens that you portray it through. You can portray Venom as an okay character. You could portray him as a good guy. You could portray him as a bad guy. You know, I don't mind him existing as a character. I just want them to be willing to portray, you know, he's kind of a scumbag character sometimes. And I want to see him in a movie with Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. A lot of people have been saying that, you know, he's supposed he teleported universes. And I can see it working well where he's in a film where it's Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and he's kind of a third character. And they do end up uniting to defeat a major villain, but with the acknowledgement where Andrew Garfield's kind of like, you're scum, but I'm willing to work with you because you're the only choice I have, and I have to have your help to take down this other character.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Like, you're just looking at the symbionite itself. You're looking at the parasite itself. You're not even looking at Eddie Brock. You know what I'm saying? Eddie Brock isn't a bad guy. Like, Eddie Brock's, like, his character portrayed in both Venom movies. This Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock, isn't a bad guy.
Yeah,
he's not,
and he's kind of the container that holds Venom back.
He's kind of like stuck with you know what I'm saying, stuck with this, and like there is a give and take between the two of them. It's like, you know, hold on, like, because he's trying to make Venom understand, like, you can't just go around biting people's heads off. So to let Venom go on about his business, and like, there is a danger there. Yeah. But like, do you really want to put Venom's like moral like compass on Eddie Brock's? Like, do you want, like, just because Eddie Brock, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if Eddie Brock doesn't hold on to Venom, Venom's going to just go from body to body.
Yeah, and so you're kind of saying, you know, you're kind of saying it's hard to hold Venom to the same standard as Eddie Brock.
As Eddie Brock, right, because he's not even human. Venom's not even human. So, like, in that sense, like, I guess more of the question, would you like to see, you know, Eddie Brock versus Peter Parker, or would you like to see Eddie Brock work with Peter Parker? But saying that, Eddie Brock is going to have to be Venom to work with Peter Parker. So you're going to have both of them there. Like, what type of moral, like, dilemma does that cause? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, Eddie Brock is, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's true. Yeah, so you can't just put Venom by himself, because he's not. He's a parasite. Yeah. He can't exist without Eddie Brock. Yeah. And knowing how Eddie Brock is and how he interacts with Venom, it's like, you know, you can't do that. Like, try to eat these chickens. Like, we don't go around eating. He has to bring him to a human moral standard. Like, he's trying to a symbionite creature, trying to teach it how to be human. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So there's a thing there with that. So I would like to see the good cop, bad cop.
The good cop, bad cop routine.
Yeah.
Routine. That's what I would like to see. You know what I'm saying? And see them take on like a greater bad guy. You know, like somebody like a Carnage or one of the other evil symbiontes. I think that would be really cool to see.
And I think Spider-Man 3, I mean, people hate on it, but I think it was actually a really good reference for how it's done, where it's kind of Peter in conflict with one villain for the majority of the movie, only to reveal the biggest villain later on. Right. And so I could imagine it working where it's like, you know, Tom Holland or Andrew Garfield or whoever fighting with Tom Hardy for like an hour. Right. And then this other guy comes in, you know, kind of how Thanos came in and all the Avengers, despite their petty arguments among each other, united because he said, there's just one villain.
Yeah. So you would like to see them going against each other for a little bit and then uniting.
Yeah. And the camera's about to cut off because it cuts off when it hits 29:59. So do you guys think that there's any more that discussion that could be had, or any other points you'd like to touch on?
I would like to see another Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Me too.
Yes, another Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. We're going to push this until the camera... Why did Canon cameras cut off at 29:59?
I don't know, man.
We're watching it. We have 9 more seconds. We're just going to sit here and stare at the camera.
This is amazing. Okay, look.